It's not the same to have a strong group and to have a secured group. Strong groups usually don't have weaknesses. And secured groups are groups which we cannot really kill, but they might have some weaknesses. And as it's not good to play close to the strong groups, sometimes it might be very interesting to play close to the secured groups. But we should play in a way to have nice continuations. So let's start with the next lesson. And let's start with maybe this kind of shape. So yeah, white decided to play in this spot, this R12. This R12, it looks like, white plays close to the black's group. So maybe it might look like it's risky. But after this move, white creates some weaknesses in black's shape. For example, at A and at B are the continuations for white. So that later, while having this stone here, white can think, okay, now let's play in this spot. After having this move, in case black would like to cut white, like this, like this, like this, let's say black connects and white plays here, because of having this stone, white is able to connect with these two stones, and now black has two groups. So it might be already interesting for white to fight there with black. So this is like one option to have some start of attack. In case black plays from the other side, white can, for example, extend, and then if black plays here, white will be anyway able to create there a living shape. It's not possible to cut this shape because after this move white can play anyway here, so white is anyway connected. And where is black's corner? Gone, right? So this is also a nice continuation for white, so that while having this move, white creates this weakness at A. In case white is afraid of playing this one, it might be also possible in some cases to play at B, and after this move, in case black connects, white is already able to play like this, so that anyway white kind of creates a nice shape there. White tries to connect here this stone with this stone, so it also looks quite interesting for white. Might be also possible for white to play some other moves, like for example like this, and in case black cuts, white can play this kind of exchange and later play something like this. In case black plays here, white can play, for example, in this spot. There are actually many possibilities for white. And of course, white should adjust this like continuation to the like current situation. Usually the most popular move is this move at A, and in case white is afraid of this move, white can all the time think about playing from the other side, for example something like this, to try to get some help around, maybe like this or maybe like this, and then all the time aiming at this spot, this Q16. Later, we can also actually consider a little bit different shape, like this. So that, for example, when white played in this spot, this O17, it also might look like it's quite far away actually, right? Because here white has some group and it's far, so maybe black can play later here and attack. Yes, black can play there. Just even if black will play in a spot like this, like one thing is that white can fight against this black stone, because white doesn't need to worry about own group here because it's already secured. And now, if looking on this fight, white is actually ahead. White is the first one to play here, so it might be anyway okay for white to continue in this kind of fight. Here we can also notice, if looking on territory in this shape, that this territory is shared. Both players have 0, so it goes normally. In case white would have played in this spot, for example, later black might play also like this. So now about territory, it looks like white gets slightly more, but black protects more potential weaknesses in the corner, so maybe it's not that nice for white. So yeah, if there is a secured group like this for black and white decides to play in a spot like this, later there is this agi at A. So it doesn't matter if black will have this stone there or no. Later it might be possible for white, for example, to play at A. And after this move, what's going on? In case black connects, looks normal to keep everything connected. Now white can think about playing, for example, like this. So in case black cuts, white can connect. After this move, white can play here. So white survives in the corner. And suddenly corner doesn't belong to black, it belongs to white. So it's again a huge difference because white will have their points and not black. So this difference is pretty big. Later maybe it will be possible to attack this black group, maybe not. depends on the surroundings and how the game will go on, but at least black doesn't have all this corner. So this might be some nice follow-up for white. In case black would play something else, maybe black would like to play in this way, but after this move, white has a little bit different possibilities. Like for example, it might be possible for white to extend. And after this move, what's going on? In case black connects, white already connects, white is connected, interesting for white. In case black would play something like this, white can think, for example, about cutting. After white cuts, what can black do here? In case black will play like this, okay, white will escape, let's say maybe black will connect. But now white can cut, and in case ladder works well for white, then black has a problem. So like this, maybe it's not that interesting for black to play. But what if ladder works well for black? Because like after this, then black captures, so white cannot play this way. But in case ladder works well for black, maybe white can play in a little bit different way. Besides this move, white can also think about some other moves. So for example, it might be possible for white to play like this. This is another option. Later, for black to do anything interesting, I think black would need to cut. And later, in case white plays like this, maybe black would like to capture this stone. Because if black plays somewhere else, like this, white can capture. Like this, white can cut, also get some wall, sacrifice these two stones, and protect own shape. It looks like disaster for black, because black has just small corner and white is everywhere around. So maybe black will be interested in trying to capture this one white stone. But like this, white can cut, for example, here. Then, in case black connects, white can think about playing, for example, in this spot. So later, in case black tries to play this Atari and surround somehow white in that area, white already is able to play a ko. So in case white has many ko threats, it might be a very interesting situation for white, right? Because in case white has these ko threats, so black will capture, white will play ko threat, and later black will need to connect, then white captures this stone. So suddenly, this corner is shared between two players, black and white. And it was black's corner, so now maybe even white has more territory than black there. So I think it should be also quite comfortable for white. Yeah, but white needs to have this ko. But what if black has more ko threats? So if black has more ko threats, maybe it's possible for white to play just like this. And in case black keeps in case black keeps white separated, then white can play also like this. Here, after this move, there are some like minuses for white. Black can, for example, connect, and in case white would like to make their two eyes, maybe black can block in case white plays like this. Now black gets center, and this corner was actually not that big because black has still a nice shape, and now black can play like somewhere far away and maybe fight with this stone. So like this, it looks quite risky for white. Maybe white can think about playing like this, but now black has possibility to destroy the base, so white will need to crawl somewhere on the second line. It doesn't look like interesting for white. Yes, so there are some problems, so it might be a little bit risky in case white would like to play in that direction, but there are actually many options for white. Like for example, white can try to cut like this and now play from the other side, so that in case even the ladder doesn't work, white might be able to get a shape which is not that bad. Even though black will capture these two white stones in the corner, black can play here some tesuji. Okay, maybe it will work. Okay, maybe before black can think about playing something else to get more liberty. So black can play, for example, something like this. In case white connects, black can also connect. Yeah, so black maybe will capture all this white's corner and also maybe destroy some like potential from white in the central part of the board. Maybe it will work. Just white doesn't need to play there now. This A doesn't need to be played immediately. This is a weakness which will remain. To not have this weakness, black would probably need to play in the future some move like this or like this, which might not look like that comfortable for black, because what now black has these three stones there in the corner, and it doesn't look like it's that much territory there for black. So these weaknesses simply remain for later. For black, it's not that easy maybe or interesting to protect this shape, and white can play at this A move in the future when it will be comfortable. Maybe when ladder will work, maybe when white will have more cross threads, or maybe when it will be still anyway interesting for white to get some nice wall from outside. So white might be able to play this A move in the future. Actually, a similar shape we can make when changing this move to this one. While having this move in this spot now, this 017, the situation is a little bit similar in the corner. It might be all the time possible to play at A, so that when white plays in this spot, later in case black plays like this, white can get this exchange in center and then playing here, so that white is alive. In case black plays something in this spot, maybe it's also possible for white to get some nice shape while, for example, cutting here, and in case black captures the stone, white can suddenly get all the corner. This, it's not always good because black has also a stronger shape, so we need to be careful with this kind of exchanges. But it might be also possible, for example, for white to play like this and later extend, and again hoping to get a nice result in that area, in that direction. So this is another option, and later maybe possible to capture the stone and leaving there on the right. So this is another option for white, but all the time the profit for white is that white doesn't need to play there immediately. White can wait, and later when it will be comfortable for white, when while we feel good, then white can decide to play, for example, at the spot A. But in case white would like to play somewhere else, white can also decide to play somewhere else. So this kind of moves create weaknesses which don't need to be used immediately. They can be used a little bit later, but white will not have situation that white will be over concentrated. So I would recommend to play in this kind of positions. Of course, instead of this 017 move, white can also think about playing from the other side like this. And many times this kind of moves might be maybe a little bit more interesting because like normally when there is a stone on the fourth line somewhere, it's very big to play on the third line Keima from the stone, so that later it's possible, for example, to slide, but it's also possible to play some other moves, so that for this one who is higher might be not that easy to create an interesting base. So that's why many times it's interesting to play Keima from a move on the fourth line. So for example, how it was here, so when opponent has some stones on the fourth line, many times it might be interesting way, like to have like possibility to attack, to play this Keima on the third line. Yeah, okay, so let's move to another situation. Okay, yeah, it might be also possible to think about playing some attachments. This is like another option, but if we compare these kind of moves to these moves like one line further, for example, instead of this one to have the stone here or like this, after these moves I think black will already answer. Like after this move black will play this kind of spot or in this kind of spot, and what's going on? White actually didn't get that big profit, right? White plays very close to the strong group. It would be a huge difference for white to have this stone one line further. Like this situation is completely different. Now black doesn't attack immediately, directly. Black doesn't attack white directly. So with this stone it's still possible to get some base for white or some other profit possible to jump towards the center, and similar in the lower corner, so that instead of this move, if white could choose to have this move in this spot, it's also much more interesting for white in case black would answer in the same spot. So usually when black has these like longer shapes, these two stones in the corner, like this or like this, for white it might be more interesting while using this when we want to like make this weakness in this corner, to play this one line further from them. Yeah, and attachments are more interesting in a little bit different shapes, but about these shapes we will speak in a next video. Okay, so let's continue with some other shape. So yeah, let's check this one. What is this shape about? Here there was normal Fuseki, and now white decides to play, it's good to play here. So why playing in this spot? Why not, for example, playing like this, or maybe like this, or maybe like this? It's because this move in this spot creates some weaknesses in opponent's shape. So when white has a move at m17, it might be possible to play at A or at B. So later, when white would like to use these weaknesses, let's say white will play at A. In case black would like to cut, white can play this exchange and later cut black. So that in case black captures these two stones, white can also play here, cut, and later capture these two black stones on the right side. So in case black will play like this, white can just extend, or in case black will play like this, white will make this exchange and later play here. So this is some problem for black. For white, sometimes it might be also possible to play a little bit different. Might be also possible to play like this first. So later, in case black will play here in the corner, it's possible to destroy it a little bit more and later actually capture this one stone. Or in case black connects, maybe white can play something like this. And now in case black protects this cutting point here, maybe white can play here. So maybe for white it will be possible to survive even in the corner and have a group to attack. Because black's group, in case white has some help, like here these two stones, maybe this shape, this black's shape might be attacked, black is left without territory, and in case white lives here in this top, I think white might be also quite satisfied. So after this move, usually black connects. Here, in case white would like to cut immediately without playing this move, it's good to also check about the ladder, because black can also connect, and now here there is a ladder, so it depends of this ladder. So in case this ladder works well for black, here it would be necessary to play from this side. And in case white doesn't like the situation when black goes away, then white should not play this initial move, this at A, but white can also wait with it. Another possibility for white to block their black in the corner is to play at B. After this move, white gets some kind of a wall. All the time in the future it's possible to play in this spot. Now actually this ladder doesn't matter, because after this move when black connects, white can use help of this stone, so that anyway it's possible to capture here black. And like this, when black will need to connect, white can also get some small endgame in the future. But after playing this move, white already connects everything what's around, so white has quite strong shape. In this situation, like this particular situation, when white already has a stone in this spot, it might look not that efficient, because now if we are looking on this white shape, it would be actually good to have this stone a little bit further, so that, for example, instead of having this stone here, it would be more interesting for white to have this stone further, so that this wall, this strong group from white, it will be used more effectively, so that here maybe it would be possible to get a little bit more. But generally, the thing is that in case white will play in this spot, this m17, white creates some weaknesses in black's shape. And in case white would have played, for example, like this, even though it looks like white is not attacked that much by black, because white doesn't play that close to the black's shape, for white it would be much more difficult to use this kind of weaknesses, because in case white would like to block in the center, where to play for white, just like this, then anyway it's possible to cut like this. And in case black would like, actually black can just make this exchange, and black gets there more territory on the top, and white's shape is like this stone from white, this L17, it looks quite strange, right? So maybe like this it would be more difficult to block from outside, but to play on the second line, this is maybe a little bit more painful for white, that after playing here, when black connects and white plays like this, black starts to have already like another options, so that maybe it's possible for black to play like this and try to get more towards the center, so that in case white will play something like this, black can already make these kind of exchanges, and later black has more stones in the center, so it will be easier for black to go in that direction. It might be also possible for black to try even a little bit more like fancy things. Like, for example, in case black plays like this, it might be already possible to maybe capture these two stones, but this looks like a little bit more complicated situation. But it's possible for black, might be even possible to play just like this. So in case white wants to still survive with these two stones, white will need to play this attachment, and then black connects. So black gets this extra stone here in the center. It's quite easy for black already to go towards the center. And the corner, all the time black can block. and like now these three stones will start to be a little bit weaker in case white doesn't have any stone. So it's more difficult to use this kind of weakness in the future in the spot for white. And also in case white has a stone like this, maybe for white it will be possible to have here more territory. When white will have the stone here, it will be like not that easy for white to have here more. And like this, it might be possible for white to have here more territory in the future. So like this, white creates a possibility, like one, to make a weakness in opponent's shape, and two, to have a bigger territory in own shape. Okay, so let's check some other situation. Here we get a shape which I mentioned in some of the previous videos. Yeah, this move. So is this kind of a move? Sente. Usually, in my opinion, it's good to answer on this kind of move. Doesn't matter if here white has some stones or no. Many times it's good to answer because with this extension, white creates weaknesses in black's corner. So later in the future, it might be possible for white to play something like this and later like this. So in case black connects, white is able to play from this side, white enters the corner, so this is not that big, and anyway white will most likely finish in center. In case black connects, white can already ignore. And later, yeah, this kind of stuff is even center, so white starts to have quite strong group, because after this move it might be possible even to extend here. So white starts to have really pretty solid group. White doesn't need to worry that much about own stones. Yeah, later in case black will play like this, this move, to be able to play this move, black needs to have a ladder. And white will cut, and then we have a ladder. In case ladder works well for white, it's disaster for black. When black needs to connect, white will just continue attacking their black shape. It will be very good for white. And in case ladder works well for black, then white should not play this move. White should wait. Or if in case white would like to attack this corner, maybe white could start with, for example, some Sansan, and now without this exchange, when white cannot cut, maybe white can still use some other moves. For example, it might be still possible to play like this and later extend. So all the time it might be possible to do there something in the corner, like without having possibility to die with some ladder or something like that. So still it might be quite interesting for white. And in case black plays here, there is more space for white, so like when black doesn't have the stone in this spot, it might be a little bit easier for white to survive in the corner. But usually, if it's possible, it's better to cut black's shape. So more interesting is to have usually this exchange and later playing Sansan. Another option for white to like develop this shape with weaknesses is to play in this spot. While having a stone in the spot, first thing, white creates a bigger wall. So white is simply stronger, and later white has options to still play in the same way, like this and like this. So now this ladder doesn't matter because of white having this extra stone in this spot, so that for black it might be not possible to play here. And another option is to try to play from the other side. For example, white might try to block black here on the right side, for example, in this way or this way. So all the time there are some weaknesses in the corner. And in case black will not be able to escape towards this central part of the right side, then it might be even possible at some cases to try to really attack black's group quite strong. So there are again some more weaknesses in this corner. So in case white would like to play something there, white can also consider this p14 move. But usually white waits for the ladder, and later white can play like this to get there even more. For black to try to resist, it might be also possible to play in this spot. Later, after this move, white can, for example, extend, and in case black plays like this or connects, white can get this kind of exchanges in center, and later black will maybe connect. So white starts to have some strong group in center. Yeah, black still has corner, but white gets these like many extra moves in center, so it might be also quite a nice deal for white. And maybe instead of this move, white can sometimes be also interested in playing a little bit different like this, and maybe now something like this connection, so that in case black would like to have the corner, black would need to play here. It depends of the situation. This is another weakness there. Yeah, in case black would play like this, white just cuts. So also it might be interesting for white in this situation. So there are weaknesses, and in case white would ignore it and play elsewhere, and later black plays in this spot. Now black doesn't really have these weaknesses in the corner, so that black, like one thing, gets an extra stone in the center, black gets a good shape. Now this white stone, which is in this spot, is like, what is this stone doing there? It doesn't do almost anything, just stays without much reason close to black's strong group. Also, when black has a stone here, for white it will be very difficult to create there a nice base. Also, in case white would like to extend, for example, like this, it doesn't give white still that easy possibility of entering the corner, because in case white will play here, like first of all, black can anyway get some more center moves to get a nice wall. But in case later in some time white would like to enter the corner, when black plays in the spot to cut white, while having these extra moves here for black, it will be much easier for black to fight. For white, it's not that easy to cut there anything, so most likely white will just die in the corner. So there are not that many weaknesses anymore. So usually it's a very big move to add this stone like this, so that black protects their all these weaknesses, and also doesn't let white have a nice shape. Even more important, it would be to play this kind of move when black doesn't have a stone like this. So now it's even more, because while having an extra move here without the stone, for black it might be maybe more interesting to play again further, because black would have a stronger group. So like this, really white should almost never leave this kind of situation, but really almost always just extend, and later white can leave. So for example, in case black would play this kick, when white extends, and black will play maybe like this to fight a little bit higher, for white it's okay to ignore it. In case white has important reason to ignore it, white can ignore it, and doesn't matter if black will attack this shape or not. All the time there start to be some weaknesses in the corner, so white might use them later. Even though white will die a little bit bigger, white might use these weaknesses later, what is more interesting for white. So in this kind of shape, I would recommend basically almost always to play this extension. Yeah, but moving to the game, sometimes we can have a little bit similar situations, but like here in the other corner, when one color is already more secured. So that here, for example, we could change it so that black will have stone like this and like this. So later after this kicking, does it make that much sense for white to extend? In my opinion, no. When white will extend in this moment, white doesn't create those weaknesses in black's corner. In case black will start some attack, for white playing Sansan, when black cuts, white cannot get much. White is dead in the corner, and now black has basically a strong group just to attack these white's two stones. So in this case, I would recommend not to play this extension when black is already like very secure there on the right side, and instead maybe it would be more interesting just to play somewhere else. Or in case white would like to get at least something from this shape, maybe white can consider playing like this. So in case black will block own territory, then white can get also this exchange in center, so that white gets these extra stones there, so that black cannot get much more from this shape. And maybe these like two stones at P18 and P16 will help white in the future in any potential fight. So these are extra stones for white to have there. Maybe it would be also interesting for white to have this kind of shape, because anyway it was not possible for white to use any other weaknesses. So this is just to not let black have more than this what black already had. So white just gives black this what black had, and white gets some extra stones around, because it was not possible to create weaknesses there. So like this, with these extra stones, it might be a little bit easier to escape, for example, with this white group. So yeah, here is analogically, but for the other color in the lower left corner. So when opponent is already strong, when we don't create any weaknesses, then I would recommend to play further from the strong group. So maybe we can make, for example, this exchange and later play something like this in case we want to play here on the top, so that white is all the time light, and white has this possibility to sacrifice without losing too much. Okay. So later we can also move to a little bit different situation. Here we get this old style Joseki, And for white, it might be also interesting to play here just next to this black's group. White can also play like this, white can play like this, but I would recommend to play in this spot because there is this weakness in black's shape in this M18. So in case black will ignore it, and later white will play in this spot, in case black would like to cut. White has here several options, but like one of them is to get some wall, so white can already cut. In case black will capture these stones, white can play like this. So black will need to anyway capture these two stones, and white is able to get a nice wall in the center. Maybe there is like possibility for white to play from the other side, so to play like this. Now usually black ignores this shape, plays somewhere else, because in case black would like to connect, white is anyway able to cut. So after this move, what can black play? In case black will play like this, white can make this exchange and later capture the stone. It's a huge profit for white to capture a ponuki like this. White should be very happy. In case black tries to play somewhere else, maybe like this and here, then we get a ko. But ko like this in black shape, it's extremely comfortable for white because white can destroy basically all black's shape. And in case black wins this ko, black will be of course stronger with this group, but it was black's group there. It was black's area. So black just made own area a little bit stronger. But in case white wins this ko, white gets very strong shape in opponent's area. So white gets really a lot of profit there. So while playing like this, white has actually quite nice situation. And in case black would like to continue while playing, for example, something like this, white can just get this stone. So white gets a lot of territory there on the right side. It's some kind of continuation after creating a weakness with the stone here. Because in case white would not have this stone, in case the situation would be, for example, like this. Later in the future, if white would play like this, black can, for example, play just here. So white cannot really connect that easy the stone with any other stones, and black gets a stronger shape for outside. So yeah, like this, white normally would need to have a stone in this J17 spot. We can also check maybe some other variation, maybe like this. Here it's also like possible for white to create a weakness in opponent's shape when black has a one space jump. Many times it's interesting to play just a peep, this kind of move, so that in case opponent answers, black was anyway quite safe there on the top. So now black is a little bit safer, but it doesn't matter that much for black. But it matters for white to have this extra stone in the center because it's helpful for white in any potential fight, in any, like, even if white would like to get some moyo or like anything here on the right side, this move is going to help white. But usually these kind of exchanges are going to help in any potential fight. Doesn't matter who is escaping, black or white. In case white's group is escaping, it's an extra stone for white to escape. In case black's group is escaping, it's an extra stone for white to try to kill it. So in any case, this kind of exchange should be a helpful exchange for white in the center. Another option, another possibility maybe would be to play like this, so that now when we have this shape from white, maybe black can think about playing so far away as this move, this M17. Here black has of course many options. It's possible to play like this, possible to play like this, like this. Black has there more options to protect own corner, this top right corner. But why thinking even about playing so far away? Because white is strong there. On the left side, white is strong. So after playing in this spot, for white it might start to be interesting to just enter black's shape. Of course it might be, and it depends a lot on what are the other stones on the board. If for one player or for the second player would be more interesting to have any kind of fight. Just I would like to notice, I would like to show you that later after this move, there is an agi here in white's shape. So that later when black will play in this spot, it might be not that easy for white to continue. Because in case white will extend, now for black it's possible already to play, for example, this exchange, later like this, later something like this, let's say even connect, white will play here. And for black to make two eyes, there should be really no problem. So black will be able to survive here, and suddenly white is left without territory. So it might be like an option to later destroy this white shape. Of course, white gets some wall. Later, white can also destroy here some of black's territory, but white also has some weaknesses, so it's not that simple. And in some like other options in this in this shape after this move, white can also think maybe about playing some other moves. So for example, in case white plays like this, now black gets an option to play from the top to get a nice wall, or from the bottom like this to get there some territory. This is another option. In case white plays like this, black anyway has a possibility to play this k18. And now in case white will try to cut their black on the top, anyway black is able to escape. So this is not a big problem for black to escape like this. So actually we can see that there are weaknesses in white shape which are created after this m17. But to really say for sure if this move is better, this m17 move is better, or maybe some other one, maybe a little bit closer, or like this, it depends on situation on like all the board. So it depends for whom it will be more comfortable to start this fight. So in case black is quite strong, I would recommend to play further, so later it's possible to use this weakness of white. But in case black is a little bit thin, maybe white has some stones here on the right side, then I would recommend maybe to play a bit closer to the corner to save that group a little bit more. Okay, let's check maybe one more variation. Now we got a situation, here it's after Shimari and attachment, and later white would decide to play in this A spot. Is it a good spot? In many situations I would recommend not to play like this, because where is white's continuation? Not easy to find, right? What can white do? White can only play here some endgame, but it's like almost nothing, not important at all in the like opening, because it doesn't help that much for this stone, and actually it might not necessarily be even center, because if white plays here now, probably black will like first option is just to ignore, because this corner anyway black has a possibility to escape towards the center with one group, so it's not that important, and it's like not that big profit for white anyway to be able to play this this move, because all the time it's empty, this area is empty. So black will be able to attack maybe this white stones. So for example, after playing like this, when black will start to just add some move here, suddenly we can see that this move starts to be weak, and maybe black will just get much more advantage while having these extra moves in the center. But probably, most likely, most interesting for black would be just to ignore it and play somewhere else, because now when there are no weaknesses in this black's corner, for white it's not that profitable to really block black, because when white blocks black, still black does need to play in the corner, but in the future black can anyway cut. Black can anyway cut, and black can anyway create problems for white. So white will anyway have their weaknesses, even though it looks like white blocked black, but it was like not center move for white or not anything, it was just blocking. So these two moves, this A and this P14, they don't really look like interesting moves because it was Gote. Because it was Gote, it didn't create any weaknesses for opponent. White just played close to black's strong group. So thank you for your attention and see you in the next video.